Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Musum.
Hello.
Quick plug here for patreon.com/E1M1. Those ones are numbers. It's where we get all the early access, behind the scenes, exclusive stuff. We've like a couple hundred episodes up there in the backlog too. The recommended tier is the $5 a month tier, not per episode or anything like that. And that gets you access to everything upcoming and all of the stuff in the archives. Check it out, patreon.com/E1M1. Musum, what have you been playing this past month?
So, I played through Horizon Burning Shores.
Okay.
So last episode I was like, oh yeah, I got there, and they immediately, took away your ability to, use your flying mount.
Oh, right.
And I was just like, yeah, of course, they wouldn't want you to do that in the new area. And then I did one story mission and got it back. So,
Okay. That works.
Like, they've very much built the area with you flying around between islands in mind.
Oh, interesting.
It's I really enjoyed it overall. Like they try to snapshot like a lot of the highlight things they did from the first game to a lesser degree in this, which I don't know always works. Like it's you expect these big emotional moments, but you have less time to kind of build to them.
Oh, sure.
But like they gosh, so the side missions in this are every bit as good as the main missions, just like in the main game. But they have this one in particular that's, gosh, I didn't write down the name, but it's like a ruined side mission where you kind of get into this building and then you get underground and then you run into a character that I guess was, his name is, well, okay, no, I shouldn't spoil things. But it's a character from, I gather, the other DLC, which I didn't play from the first game.
Oh, yeah,
and
okay.
it is like heartbreaking. It is.
Oh, boy.
It is a heavy character story. Like it's really really good. That particular that side mission is one of the best in the game. Period.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, I beat it. I did most of the side quests. Like they have these kind of flying, I don't know if they're puzzles. They're just signals you find, and then you fly along a path that doesn't seem like it's timed.
Okay, I don't remember that being in the main game. Do you remember that, or did they add it just for this?
I think
DLC?
they added it just for this.
Okay.
I think they were just trying to think of something to do with the flying mount.
Right.
Because they added those, and then they also added certain areas where you can only open them with the flying mount.
Oh, interesting.
But they're just like, you fly to the top of a tower and pull up a hatch, and then jump in the hatch and get some treasure type things.
Okay.
Nothing particularly deep on that, but
Sure.
they're definitely thinking about like, well, what can we do with this flying bird now?
Right.
I wish I'd paid a little bit more attention to the trophies before I started it. There are several trophies related to combat actions. And doing those a certain amount of times, and if you aren't doing the new stuff they showed you, there are a few of the new combat moves I just didn't bother with, and missed out on those trophies because of it, unfortunately.
Right.
I'm going to talk around this while trying to compliment, and we'll see how this goes. The end boss level is it's a really freaking cool idea that unfortunately is kind of technically janky.
Okay.
And I kind of get why, with the amount of kind of physics kind of going on in those scenes. Like, I don't know if they could have made it better or not. Like, I mean, I guess it can always be better, but I kind of wonder from a technical aspect, how do you prevent certain, like, the camera cutting through walls or things like that, or remaining consistent if Aloy's in a tunnel or something. But
Well, and these two games have always struggled with that. Like when you're out in the open world and you're out in the kind of surface area stuff, that stuff more often than not works really well. But I feel like every time you get into one of the underground kind of more technically advanced areas, I feel like that's where things get kind of squiffy, and she's jumping off of ledges and she's getting lost and clipping through the world and stuff. So I appreciate that they kind of keep swinging for the fences with that stuff, but it's not to be mean, but it's not too surprising that some of that stuff is sort of a little rough.
Yeah, like if you ever play and you get there, you'll be like, "Oh, this is that makes sense."
Yeah,
like it's a lot of transitioning between outside and in, and it. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I think it's worth the $20 or so. Just remember, you may have to buy it, tell it to download, and then go to manage game, manage game content.
Tell it to download again. Yeah. I'm looking forward to playing this at some point. I know. It's only really a handful of hours, right? It's not super long.
Yeah, I think I had to have spent like 4 or 6 hours or something doing it. Like it's not it's bad. 10 or less, whatever it is. Okay. And granted, I did not do all the side quests. There was one side quest. I'm like, well, okay, I have to do this one because I got to see what the end was, and the end was. It was okay. I was a little disappointed.
Right.
But it's kind of like the stuff in the main game. You collect all the birds, or did I collect all the birds? I may not have, or not the birds, the little drones. But
and there was that side quest in the main game too, where it's like go collect the little crystals from on top of these 4 towers. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna do all this climbing and I'm gonna get something cool. And she's like, cool, thanks, bye. It's like, no, wait, what?
Yeah, it's basically one of those. Like you get like a voice dialogue thing on the one in particular I'm thinking of, but probably like one of the cooler areas in this. I'll vaguely state it is theme park like. I'll just say that.
Okay, sure.
And it creates a lot of cool visual. It's very reminiscent of like the Las Vegas desert area.
I mean, if there's one cool thing you can do in any post-apocalyptic stuff is put like a theme park or something like that, like a boardwalk or something like that, that's kind of broken down and decayed. Like that always looks cool.
Yeah. It does very much make me excited for the third game and whatever that could be.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see when we get there. It's I'm a little worried about the third game with rest in peace Lance Riddick, but
yeah,
I feel like he would have been a large part of that, especially from all the talky bits you get with him at the beginning of this DLC. And
yeah, after the first game, I was like, well, we'll never see that guy again, and he plays a fairly major part in 2, kind of in a way that I wasn't really expecting. So yeah, it's a real bummer.
So I also I can't remember if I had started playing Symphony of War again last podcast, but
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm on the last mission of this. It's still a really fun game. It's kind of easy. Like I'm playing on the harder difficulty, so like I got to think about it a little bit more. But if you get really good at the team composition, which is what I've been wholeheartedly experimenting with this round, like my first time through the game, I was like, okay, the cavalry unit's going to be a cavalry unit. Everyone's going to be on a horse, yada, yada, yada. And this one, I'm like, well, technically you get the cavalry movement so long as something like 2/3 of the troop or something like that is on horses and the rest don't have to be. So what if I had a bunch of cavalry in front, a bunch of mages in back or something like that?
Right.
I wanted to do that with dragons too, but like by the end of the game, like most of your troops will be able to have 9 units in it.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so you have a leadership stat in each troop. Like if you have 90 leadership, then you can add X amount of guys, and each guy has 10 points. And then once you exceed like 4 or 5 units, it starts putting a like a penalty score on it. So like to have 9 guys, your 9th guy is probably going to cost you like 20 points out of your leadership total. But when you're adding dragons in, like they're a similar price point to a regular guy, but they take up 2 slots, so you wind up having like 20 extra points left. So it's kind of this weird, you gain power, but you lose a couple attacks, and you don't really, there's no real way to fill those extra points. Like they have artifacts you equip on a troop that, will spend a few of those, but like the really expensive artifacts will do something like negative 50 to weapon strength, but plus 50 to magic or something, right? Like there's a lot of give and take with them, and I do way too much variety in my units to be able to use one of those.
Right.
But I still love this game. That I think I figured out what has bothered me about the main story, and I think it's just a me thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with the main story. I think it's just based on having religious faith, which I don't have. And no offense to anyone that does. This is not like any particular religion game, because obviously this is like a D&D situation where the gods are actually real and you may or may not interact with them in the story, type of thing.
Right.
There's just a lot of have faith moments. And I think that's probably what kind of put me against it. But
Sure.
I think they try for a lot of interesting things in the story either way. And they play with kind of the perception of who has faith, and this character, came back from the dead. Are they even the same person? Like, how do we know what happened to them? Like certain things like that. But it's still an amazing game, and I really look forward to the DLC. Oh, right, and kind of what I'm doing now, since I'm on the last mission, the marketplace has gained infinite arena tokens I can buy. And those are just extra battles you can do. If you do the hardest difficulty arena and you get an S rank in it, it'll give you an item called a proof of merit. And these you apply to a unit who has maxed out their class. And you give that to them, and they get like a pretty significant stat boost. Like,
oh wow.
Like I don't know, it's like probably a 20% boost in a lot of their stats, but they can't change class anymore after they use it. But my goal is I'm not sure if I'm going to go through with this, because I have like 19 troops, or I don't know what they're called. Squads, that's what they call them. I have 19 squads, and each squad has 7 to 9 characters. And I have maybe a fourth of them turned gold, but part of me is like, well, I've already beaten this. Maybe I should just keep doing these arenas, and when I'm bored, and see if I can get an all gold army.
Right.
But I really adore this game, and I hope people give it a shot. I'm sure the DLC will be good. I think the DLC is a prequel, but
interesting.
I don't know. It's not out yet. They were hoping to get it out in like June or something. So. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Aside that they're late, so.
Right.
And then I started. My friend Justin bought me Halls of Torment.
Yes.
This is Vampire Survivors meets Diablo.
Yep.
And it is like I like this game quite a bit. I don't find it as addicting as Vampire Survivors. But it more has the Diablo aesthetic, and the gameplay's a little, how do I put this? Where Vampire Survivors is you're just kind of turning into a nuke over time. Right. This gameplay is more subtle, and you have to kind of pay attention, and like there's only, I don't know, I've only unlocked 2 levels and 4 classes, but I looked it up, and I think there's only like 2 or 3 more classes I can unlock, and it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of levels either.
Okay. I do really like the kind of Diablo 1, Diablo 2 aesthetic here, that kind of very specific 90s CRPG aesthetic they got going on.
Yeah. It's Honestly, it's really fascinating how different it is from Vampire Survivors while keeping like a lot of the same things, you know.
Yeah, it has like the
Um,
bullet heaven kind of basics while managing to stray from uh, Vampire Survivors wasn't the first bullet heaven game, but it's kind of the most popular one, so it's the one that most people take inspiration from.
yeah, and this one I would argue is harder. Um,
Mm.
like I don't, Vampire Survivors, I have everything unlocked and maxed out, and I don't think I'm ever going to get everything maxed out in this one.
Oh, okay.
Unlocked maybe, but like, so what they do is each class and level has its own kind of. It's not a skill tree. It's a um, like a trophy tree type thing.
Okay, like a list
Um,
of unlocks for that one.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It's I mean, it looks like a skill tree, and it's like, hey, kill 1,000 of these things, and then either you'll get 1,000 gold, or you'll unlock a stat that then you can permanently level up for everyone. Like,
Okay.
um, yeah, and it'll unlock weapons and other classes and things like that too. But you have to do it in skill tree fashion, where you can't see the rest of them on the tree until you get this one type of thing.
Right, it's not like
Um,
Vampire Survivors unlock menu where you kind of here's 200 things, just go nuts with whatever you want to do.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Um, like the first level you go to, like you find a book that starts talking about this artifact that's required, kill a certain boss, and then you got to kind of journey to different parts of that map to kind of do these challenges and piece together the artifact. And
Oh, nice.
I'm not sure. I assume it has done me good to have that artifact. I've only encountered and beat the boss once, which I guess it's never difference. Is each level has a main boss at the end.
Oh, okay.
I've only made it to the end of the first one, and like literally all the enemies disappear, and you're just left with this one very aggressive, fast-moving boss.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, it's a really neat game, and I don't think it costs
Yeah,
very much too. I think it's like a $5 game or something. But
right.
if you liked Vampire Survivors and are up for something Diablo-esque, that is pretty engaging in terms of like you have to be strategic and you got to think and like I mean, it's just a really good game. And they even have like equipable armor and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
You eventually unlock the ability to when like so at first you just have to wear what you find in the level, and eventually you unlock the ability to pass a piece of weapon up a well, and then
Hmm.
in camp you can spend a certain amount of money, and then I always have access to that item.
Oh,
Um,
nice. I like when games do that when you're kind of on We Roguelike we call it meta progression, where you're kind of unlocking
yeah,
things that are permanent upgrades or permanent bonuses.
yeah. This would probably be a good one for We Roguelike. Now
It
that you
seems
said
like it,
that,
yeah. People seem to really like, if you like the kind of Vampire Survivors bullet hell stuff, people seem to really like this, and they like a game called Brotato, which apparently is a very similar game with kind of a more funny lean to it. But it's a cool
rotate.
genre. Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind. Like, I hope this is like the other games where they just kind of keep throwing in content.
Yep.
Because I know Vampire Survivors. You have your 50 classes.
Right.
So like seeing there were only like I don't know 7 classes or something in this, like kind of took some of the wind out of my sails.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more build potential, I guess you could say, with this. In that
Right.
like, hey, I just unlocked a fire dude, and I just found some boots that leave a trail of fire behind me, and
Oh, nice.
now I have a stat that maybe if I just refund all my money here, I can put all my money into the extra fire damage stat that I
Right.
unlocked because I killed 1,000 skeletons with this guy or something.
Right. Now I
It's
got a fire mage going.
yeah,
Right.
but it's a cool game, and I like getting back to camp and thinking, well, I have 5,000 gold. I can afford to permanently unlock this item or I can upgrade a stat. Which one is going to get me more ahead of the game right now? You know, like
Sure. Right.
I kind of like those decisions. But anyway,
That's
what
Halls
else
of
have
Torment, right?
Halls of Torment.
Yeah.
Good
Check
luck
it out.
remembering the name.
Yeah. You and me both. I just struggling.
Yes, I honestly before the podcast I thought I have to write that name down because I
Right.
already don't remember it.
Right.
uh,
Oh man.
And then last but not least, I played a little bit of Diablo 4.
Yeah, I played a
I
bunch of this month.
So what class are you doing?
So, my wife and I started our playthrough, and I started as a sorcerer because there's no demon hunter in this one, which is my Diablo 3 class. And I thought, well, let me try to play a sorcerer. So excuse me. I usually don't play as magic-based classes, not for really any good reason. And we started playing that, and my wife was having, understandably, some difficulties with the level of violence at the beginning of that game. Again, understandably, it's pretty rough. So we have sort of been taking a break from it for a little while. And with Season 1 starting, I wanted to hop in on that and try out the season. I like the season stuff in Diablo 3 a whole lot. And I misread the notes, like the pre-season notes. My understanding, which was incorrect, was if you hadn't completed the campaign before, you wouldn't have access to like the battle pass in the season. That was incorrect. You don't have access to the season. You can't create a seasonal character. So I need to go do that. I need to go complete the campaign first, which is what I've been working on now. So I'm saving my sorcerer for when my wife and I play, and I made a barbarian because that's the most polar opposite class than I usually play. And I've been having a pretty good time, struggling there for a while because in my mind, playing as a barbarian is, especially in Diablo, it feels like there's kind of one of two builds you aim for. One is like the whirlwind build where you're just spinning through everything. That's like a Diablo 3 special. And the other one, the one that I was sort of aiming for was like a high one-shot damage kind of build. And it took me a while to find that build. I wasn't really having very much fun before then because I felt like I wasn't really smashing through stuff in a way that you kind of want a barbarian to do. But I leaned all the way into, I think it's Hammer of the Ancients, which is just that one big slam attack. I leaned way into that on that specific kind of portion of that tree, and that's felt way better, and I'm moving a little bit faster through that than before, so I'm having a little bit more fun with that now. Have you checked out any of the seasonal stuff?
I have not.
Okay.
I haven't beaten it yet.
Okay.
And I just have to come to accept, like, the number one way to get me not to do something is to tell me I have to do something.
Right.
And so, like, article after article being like, you have to beat the game by the 20th, just, like, really kind of
Right.
turned me off.
Gonna.
And then seeing another article, like, in the last week by a website I won't name that is, like, you know, after a month of them telling me I had to beat the game by August 20th or whenever that date was,
Right.
They now post one that, like, Diablo 4 doesn't have any FOMO, so I'm like, what, really? That's what you've been doing to me this entire time, man.
I've seen a lot of sites, too, being like, get in the season, day one, minute one, let's go. And then they play it hardcore for like a week, and they're like, what the hell, I'm all out of content already. It's like, yeah, man, like you just played 80 hours this past week. Like you did all of it, bro.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I'm somewhere on Act 2. I can't walk anywhere without doing a side quest, though. It's like a Skyrim situation for me. And I can't... I know the hardcore players are like, no, just ignore the side quests and do the main story, and you can do the side quests later. I can't do that, guys. That's not how I play games. It doesn't matter if that's how the game wants me to play it. Like,
Right.
you're going to have to do some weird, like... I don't know, Dragon Quest, Dragon Quarter stuff or something where
Right.
it's like you have to die to progress.
Right. Man, I am almost at the end of Act 4, and it's only because I've been ignoring the side quests, and it has been killing me inside. Because, like, you'll go to a new waypoint, you'll find a new city, there's 4 of those blue exclamation marks around. I'm like, oh, I just want to do them. Okay, I can't. I need to just keep going. I want to check out the season. I could do some of that stuff in there, probably, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. But, like, I'm walking across stuff out in the world, and someone's like, help me, traveler. And I'm like, ooh, I can't. I'm so sorry. And then, like, I'm passing by. My weakness is when I run into a dungeon. And the dungeon's like, bro, I'm just right here. You just, it's a quick 30 minutes. What can that hurt? I'm like, yeah, all right, let's do a dungeon. And then after I get done with that, I'm just like, oh, that was so much time. It was a lot of fun, but I really need to keep moving. And then I, like, turn a corner, I just do the next dungeon, too. So.
Yeah. Well, and, like, gosh, you always get something good out of dungeons, you know?
Yep.
If you don't unlock a, whatever those things are that you use in...
They called aspects or something, or buffs, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, like and you want to unlock those for everyone, you know.
Well, and the thing that is good and bad is that they unlock for your entire account. So, like, it unlocks for all of your characters. So there's kind of no reason to not do them, because then your other characters already have a bit of a leg up. Which is sort of what I'm telling myself.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a really good game. I need to get back to it and actually beat it. But
yeah, I've been enjoying myself a lot. I think I had this moment of kind of grumpiness the other day when I was playing it, and I was going through this swamp, and I was chasing down this snake and going through this whole, like, rigmarole thing, and I was kind of like, you know what, I don't even care. This story, whatever, I'm grumpy about it, I don't even care. And I thought, like, the story in the Diablo games has historically not been the thing I care about. I really shouldn't worry about it. Like, I should worry about smashing these brigands and maggots with my giant hammer and not worry about why this person and this kid is in this swamp. Like, that's not been the strong point. That's not the thing I care about. So I had this kind of moment of, like, I can't get grumpy about it because it's not the thing I care about. So we'll keep on motoring. We'll keep hitting these giant mutated deer and kind of go through and do these, whatever they call, like, the Destiny public events in the game. Like, keep doing those, keep doing the side quests, keep doing the stuff, and have fun, you know, clicking on stuff and moving along. So
yeah, it's fun.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
And I think as long as I stay away from the meta stuff, and then someday I'll beat it and maybe try out one of the season pass things, you know.
Yeah.
I think I'll be fine.
I tried to look up a guide for, like, a Hammer of the Ancients build, and it came with, like, 45-minute video and, like, paragraphs of like why you want to do this, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna pick skills that are cool. Like, I'm at that level. Like, I don't want to do whatever the hardest end game stuff is. I don't want someone to be like, oh, this dumb baby build. Oh, you're running that build for babies? And it's just like, bro, I'm level 12. I don't know. I have, like, 10 skill points. What am I supposed to do? And they're like, oh, okay, sure. It's like, oh god, come on. So I'm with you. I stay away from all that stuff because there's always, like, an attitude about it of, like, oh, you're not running this Hammer of the Ancients destruction build? Well then, just like, oh man, come on.
Yeah, it is so much more fun. Like, I used to I think back years ago, like to particularly my Warframe days, where I was somewhat keeping up with some of that meta and understand it,
Yeah.
and like I do not miss. Like I don't need the homework with my games right now. Like I
Yeah,
just
you
need
don't
the
need to
game.
like chase the meta and like, and also
Yeah,
I'm on World Tier 1. Like I'm not even anywhere close to the hard part of this game, and I'm still struggling enough, so it's like I'm fine.
yeah. It's definitely. I don't think of the Diablo games as particularly hard, and this one, like you actually have to. I have to think more about what I'm doing more often, and
Yep.
like usually the end boss of an act or one of the aspect dungeons, like I really gotta. I may have to respec like to deal with them,
Hmm.
type of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of refreshing. I really love Diablo 3. I really love Diablo 1 and 3 and so far 4. Um, and Diablo 3 is such a different beast because it really is that game of like, all right, I've got a pretty good build here and I can just kind of sleep through whatever this game is going to throw at me. And I love Diablo 3 for that, and I kind of love Diablo 4 for not being that. Of like, you're if you're out in the fields and you're doing maybe one of those the tiny little dungeons that look like a hatch in the floor, um, you can largely sleep through that. But if you're doing something else, like you said, like one of the dungeons or especially an act boss, like you gotta wake up a little bit. You gotta take this one
yeah,
seriously.
yeah. Like I get the impression there are some builds with the Necromancer that just kind of negate everything in the
Sure.
game, and that's fine. Like I am a fan of like raising things from the dead in video games,
Yeah,
but
blowing up every corpse you run
yeah.
across.
But every other friend I have like is playing Necromancer in this game, so I'm probably just gonna not play that.
Yeah, I was
uh,
I was actually trying to figure out which class I'm gonna do for the seasonal character, and I was thinking Necromancer because it seems like I kind of like bouncing between the different types of classes, and that seems like another kind of polar opposite from the barbarian. Like to me, barbarian and druid are kind of together, sorcerer and necromancer are together, and then rogue is kind of I guess the bridge between the melee and the ranged, from what it
right.
seems.
Well, and you can build. Like I haven't messed with the druid magic much, but my understanding is that's a bunch of AOE stuff.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
So like they have the druid branch is very like like you look through the barbarian branch, you're like, okay, I can piecemeal these things. Like you can like it's all melee stuff with only a couple things that have kind of range to it.
Yeah.
Uh, the druid goes all over the map with theirs. You can go the
Hmm.
melee route with the transformations, or you can do your plant magic that is significantly everywhere. And I know they have some summoning aspects. They almost seem like
Oh,
a
interesting.
jack of all trades type class. But
Okay, that's it. That's more than because to me it seemed like it was the you're gonna play as a bear class. I know there's like I think there's a wolf transformation too,
yeah,
but that seemed to be kind of what that class was. Is just you're
well,
you're
I
gonna
mean,
you're gonna be a bear.
if you can change into a bear, why wouldn't you? Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Like that's a pretty good deal, man.
yeah. No, my friend who played a necromancer, he really enjoyed the magic that
Hmm.
Druid did. Like he's real big on just large spells taking up the screen. So,
Right.
uh, but yeah, I need to get back to that. I have a feeling though, like with the releases that just happened and that are going to happen in the next couple months, I may unfortunately not get back to it till next year, but we will
Right.
see.
Yeah, and
But
it's a good game too to like sort of pick up and play for an hour and be like, all right, yeah, I did a couple of quests and then maybe I did a dungeon or two. All right, I'm good. Like it.
yeah,
I hope this isn't like a fortuitous statement or anything, but it seems like a game that's not going to for you and I that aren't doing end game stuff or streaming YouTube stuff. It seems like it's a game that's not going to change drastically. Like I'm assuming we're not going to log in and be like druids can't be bears anymore. Good luck. And it's like, wait, what? Like, nothing to that scale.
yeah. I can't imagine. So I'm sure they will find really cool things to do with the seasons and whatnot. Like
I hope so.
I
Yeah.
always, I always wish I'd caught the weird Diablo 1 seasons they did on 3, but
That comes around every January.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, they replay it every January. And the cool part about Diablo 3 is once this current season is over, they're on like season 28 or 29 or something. They're going to stop developing new seasons, and they're going to rerun the most popular seasons kind of in a loop. So I think it's 5 or 6 seasons they consider are the most popular ones. It's going to run those in a loop forever, basically.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's a great idea, because there were some really fantastic seasons in there. Especially, there was one where you could equip in the Kunai's Cube. You could kind of equip whatever you wanted out of that, and that was a wild season. Like, you want to be the most overpowered character ever. Like, that was pretty cool. That's what I'm hoping they'll start doing with Diablo 4 seasons. This first season seems like it's pretty strong, but I want them to get kind of in a wild place where it's like, hey, for 3 months, just go nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Well, that's all I got, man. What else you been playing?
I have been playing... We're talking about Vampire Survivors. I'm playing a bunch of Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
I have... Everything else I've been playing has been something that is... It needs more brain power than I'm able to afford right now. So here we go, Vampire Survivors. And I'm kind of... I really wish this was on PlayStation, because I could be in the mood to start Vampire Survivors over. But it's sadly not at this point. And I realized I hadn't played either of the 2 DLC packs on my Xbox save. So I said, all right, let's spend... Each one of them is $2, and you get like 10% off for Game Pass. So let me spend the $1.79 on both of them and kind of dive into just a metric ton of new content. And unsurprisingly, I've been having a blast.
Yeah.
The 2 new maps... Well, okay, so there's 2 new main maps. The Legacy of the Moon Spell, and then the other one that I will probably never remember. Both of those maps are really cool. I was surprised. I think you and a bunch of other people had explained, like, it's a very different map than the other ones. And I kind of thought I understood that until I got into it. I was like, oh no, this is... Like, one of the first things you unlock in these 2 maps is a detailed map of the area, and it's not the maps from the original game, which is this kind of seemingly unending, endless thing. You know, there's landmarks and stuff, but it's... If you want to go for 30 minutes to the right, you can. It's going to keep going. But these 2 maps have... like, there's the kind of Japanese-inspired map in Moonspell has 4 main different areas. It has a bunch of buildings you can go inside of, which I know doesn't sound crazy, but is crazy for this game. It's really interesting to see something that is... You could see the team playing with it with some of the maps that they came out with for the base game. Like, there was that thin bridge they came out with that's like only a little bit wider than your character and just stretches on forever. So you're encouraged to do very different builds than you might be used to. It's nice to see them do something different here. I like the kind of traditional endless stuff, but I like the idea of being able to do something different like this.
Yeah.
I like the new characters so far. They are... Some of the new weapons are interesting. I'm not entirely sure I like the kimono. I will also never remember the names of any of these things because they're all wild. That character is interesting because the character is largely like... She ignores cooldowns if she's moving, which is strong until you stop moving, and then the cooldowns kind of don't happen. So that one's pretty interesting. And I've started unlocking some of the extra levels where it's like, oh, get to level 80 on the inverse version of the first level, which I forgot the inverse versions of levels have. The enemies have an extra 200%, so triple health, which makes those levels really considerably harder. The one I unlocked the other day is Bat Country, which is you're only fighting bats, and it is very much a wink wink, not a Sonic the Hedgehog level, wink wink wink. That one is especially really weird, in a way that I will forever love Vampire Survivors for just being weird and not really apologizing for it. Just being like, yeah, I mean, here's a panda bear. What of it? Like, here, you can play as a giant tree. Who cares? The garlic is the most powerful item. Whatever. You know, like, it's I love Vampire Survivors so much. It's so great, and getting more of it is really great. And it's one of those games where I'll probably unlock everything. There's 190 achievements in there now. I'll probably unlock all of them and kind of put it down for a little bit again and fire. I know you can, like, grind for more golden eggs, because those are the kind of meta progression to unlock, well, I guess power up stuff higher than usual. I don't know if I'm in it for that. I think I'm just more of a casual, I guess. Also want to shout out, I watched it last night. No Clip did a documentary, Danny O'Dwyer's documentary thing. They did just a short 30-minute documentary on the making of Vampire Survivors. It's really good. And the main developer, Luca, isn't like being interviewed. He didn't want to be on camera, so they made a vampire puppet that it does the lip flaps for his interviews, which is really good. And it was a very, very cool documentary. It's a very cool peek behind the curtain of this kind of accidentally wildly successful game that we all love. So go check that out. And if you haven't played Vampire Survivors, it's great. It's really good. And they increased the price from $3 to $5. So it's still only $5 for like we said, like 75 characters and 40 levels and 200 hours worth of content. Like, it's wild.
And that Backcountry one was a free one they did too.
Yeah, because they put in a bunch of stuff that's like, oh, we just put out a patch, we've fixed some bugs, and here's 5 new characters and then 2 new levels. It's like, jeez, guys, okay. Jeez.
They're about to swap the engine and add co-op to it too. So.
Yep. Yeah, couch co-op sounds wild for this in a way that I would love to see how that actually functions. And I'm very curious to see what the new engine is, because they say that they address the new engine specifically a lot in that documentary, because the original Vampire Survivors is an HTML5 game. And
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And
the new one has like a kind of traditional game engine going on. I don't remember which one it is specifically. But they said that took them a really long time to get the game feeling right. And once they did, then now there's no slowdown, there's no anything. Like it sounds like it's kind of supercharged. So Vampire Survivors is great. Please bring it to PlayStation. I don't like port bagging, but please bring it to PlayStation so I can start it back over on kind of my daily driver platform of choice. Okay, last game here. Triangle Strategy. I finished... So when I went and I bought Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I remembered that Nintendo has that voucher program where you spend $100 and you get 2 vouchers, and you can redeem a voucher for a game. So I bought Tears of the Kingdom, which is $70, and I bought this, which is $60, and you save like $30 total. And there's a list of games you can buy, but it's kind of all the games you would want to buy anyway. So I said, sure, I'll buy a Triangle Strategy. I like SRPGs. Everybody, this seems to be well received. I'll pick this up at the same time. I finished Tears of the Kingdom recently. We've been talking about that a bunch on TVGP. You should go listen to that. Tears of the Kingdom is, as expected, very good, but it's not an RPG, so not really talking about it here. So I thought, well, with that over, let me go start Triangle Strategy. And man, I am struggling to get with the program on this game, and part of it is my frustration, because I think I should have bought Tactics Ogre, because I think Tactics Ogre is maybe more the speed that I need right now, which is 100 hours of battles, some brutal dialogue in between for a little bit, and then a bunch more battles. Triangle Strategy does some really cool stuff. Did you play Triangle Strategy? I don't think you had, right?
I played a little bit of the demo, and then I had a friend who played it a lot and told me about it, and he was pretty mixed on it too.
Oh, okay.
Particularly with how the party members, I guess, disagree with you. But
yeah, I'm pretty mixed on it, because I think I feel like I'm starting to run out of patience with RPGs that are too verbose, and they kind of don't know when to stop for a little bit. Like, you play a pretty significant amount of this game after the tutorial battle, which is actually pretty good, before you get into another battle. And I think it's overall pretty interesting. I think it's a pretty interesting story, but I just wish there was a lot less of it. Because when you get to the battles, I think those are really well done. They kind of have the standard stuff where positioning matters, and your altitude matters, and stuff like that. Like your kind of standard SRPG stuff. But they changed it a little bit, where one of the things I like the most is if you're kind of have a pincher attack with 2 units, one unit will attack the enemy, and your friendly unit on the other side of the enemy will also attack at the same time. So you kind of get like a 1-2 attack back to back if your positioning is good, which I kind of like. And there's no MP or anything. Each character gets a kind of a set of charges. Essentially, they're shown as like yellow diamonds, and when you when you expend those diamonds, you just have to do a couple of turns. You get like 1 every turn. So, like, one of the characters you get at the beginning uses fire magic. She has 3 diamonds for her kind of MP or spell points, or whatever you want to call it. Each cast of fire magic spends 2. So you can essentially get 2 of those back to back, and then you have to sort of do something else to kind of recharge, which is pretty cool, because I don't mind so much in a game like this walking up to a party member and like feeding them a healing item, but it feels pretty bad walking up to a party member and like throwing an ether at them so they can cast fire one more time, and then throwing another ether. Like that has never felt super great. So those feel really great. I just really wish there were more of them. His game voice acting is good, although I don't need every RPG to be voice acted, especially a game like this. It's good, but it doesn't really need to happen. The thing that I am surprised that I like is that thing you were talking about just a minute ago, which is probably the most divisive thing, which is, they call them the scales of something. It sounds, when they introduce it in the game, it sounds like it's the cheesiest thing, which is essentially like this scale that has two sides like normal, and there are 7 coins that you and your party members carry, and essentially however they vote with those coins means that's how the story's going to go. And like you've all have probably heard, the story might not go in the way you want it to if you can't convince your party members. I actually think that's really interesting because before you cast the vote, you can try to influence your party members, and you'll go up and talk to them and they'll say like, I can't believe we're even thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. And you'll have an option to influence them, and you'll have a little bit of text below that button, which is giving you an idea of how likely you are to influence them. Like it'll say something like this person will listen to reason, or this person might not be easily swayed, or one party member told me like you'd have more luck talking to a brick wall. I was like, okay, fair enough, good. So you can gather a bunch of info, and based on how you discuss the topic with your party members, and depending on how you made choices in that chapter up until that point, will change how they're going to vote. So you can encourage the vote one way or another, but I can definitely see there being instances of the story not going the direction you might want it to because your party members voted against you.
Gotcha.
I think that's really interesting. I know in the first playthrough you can't see... You essentially can't see the numbers behind the scenes that are influencing that entire system. I know that stuff unlocks in a future playthrough if you do additional ones. I think that's a pretty interesting system, but this is more of a me thing. Like, I can see that this game is really great, but I'm really struggling with it because it's too verbose for its own good. I'm not fighting enough of the battles. When I do, they're really fun, and they feel like they're a really good length, and the AI does not pull any punches, which feels really, really good, but I just needed to move faster from one battle to another. Like, I mentioned this in TVGP, it makes me respect Final Fantasy Tactics even more. Of like, Final Fantasy Tactics has like, here's 1 or 2 cool cutscenes, here's a very short intro, you're in a battle, here's another cutscene, and then the game just kind of turns you loose for a really long time. I wish more games did that, as opposed to, here's why this war is happening, here's all the kingdoms, here's all that. It's like, yeah, cool, okay. Can I like slash some brigands out in the streets? Like that's what I'm really looking to do. So I am struggling with it. I keep feeling like it's getting close to catching me. When a good RPG catches you and you're like, yes, this is all I really want to play right now. But I think the combination of it being a little too verbose and Vampire Survivors really being my speed right now, I feel like I'm having a bit of a hard time picking this one up. If you're watching the video version, we just saw it on the video. One thing I actually really do like that this game does is when a character levels up and learns a new skill, that skill is available immediately. So like on their next turn. You don't have to go and equip skills or manage your job or whatever. Like it's available right away, which I think is really cool, and I'd like to see more SRPGs do that, as opposed to being like, you unlocked the ultimate spell, don't forget to equip it later. Don't worry about it now. It's like, oh boy, okay.
That's appealing.
Yeah, it has a lot of cool ideas. I'm kind of a little over the like HD 2D graphic style. I was hoping it would get a little bit sharper and less blurry over time. I have new glasses, so it definitely can't be that. But it kind of, that art style is, I'm waiting to see Square Enix kind of continue to evolve it. It seems like it's a little bit stuck. I think it looks really good on the Octopath Traveler mobile game. I think that works really well there. And I'm really curious to see what it looks like on the Dragon Quest III remake they're doing, because I know that's HD 2D. But we'll see. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm a little sick of RPGs right now, but I think that might just be my kind of like schedule and everything that's going on personally. So
Yeah,
I can't blame
well,
RPGs for that. You know.
I mean, and this one has a reputation of being a little cumbersome.
Yeah. It's just it's one of those things where I'm playing it. I'm like, man, Square, you just need to port Final Fantasy Tactics to more modern stuff so that everybody, including myself, can play it. Because Tactics Ogre is really good, but it might be a little bit more heavy lifting of an SRPG right now, both from like a storyline and kind of a mechanics perspective.
Yeah.
Is that, if anybody listening hasn't played Tactics Ogre, it's incredible. And I hear the new version is really good. It's just, battles can be pretty long. It's a pretty big and pretty long game. So I'm not sure that that's the speed I'm looking for right now. So.
Yeah. Tactics Ogre is 100 hours, and the new version is not the PSP version.
Right.
One of the reasons I haven't gone back to it is, and I just need to get over it and play it because I know I'm just going to like it anyway. But you know, in Tactics Ogre PSP and Final Fantasy Tactics, once you get a class to a certain point or learn a skill in a class, you equip that skill on other classes.
Oh, right.
They got rid of that for Tactics Ogre.
Oh, interesting.
You're just
That's surprising.
the class you are. And I guess, I think someone told me that's how the original game was, but I've never played the original game. I've only played the PSP version.
Yeah, I played the Super NES one way back in the day, but I don't think I remember well enough.
Well, and that would have been I don't think, like Tactics Ogre, I don't think came out for Super NES. I think that was just Ogre Battle, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, I don't remember then. Because I was the same way where I played a bunch of Ogre Battle and never finished that. Played some Tactics Ogre and never finished that because it was, I think it was maybe like not fully translated at the time. But when the PSP Tactics Ogre one came out, I'm 100% in for that one. I played that a bunch of times to get all the different story paths and stuff. That game is so good.
Yeah,
man,
I really like that. I wish they had just ported that version so I could have my extra class stuff. But
yeah,
I don't know. My friends who played through it like still really loved that version. But just stay. Oh crap! I'm not going to remember the name of the game. Look back a few months on PUP and look for whatever that Tactics Ogre or not Tactics Final Fantasy Tactics clone I played was. The heck is that stupid game called?
Yeah, I started playing that too, and I really liked it. The Mercenary Saga, is that the one?
Yeah,
that was maybe longer ago than a couple months, but I played that and that was really good.
Yeah, whatever that was, the independent one. Like, I mean, it's basically Final Fantasy Tactics. You know?
Yeah,
it's
very good.
Yeah, you just gotta kind of get used to the graphics because it's definitely that. I don't know what engine that is, but it seems like that kind of graphic style has gone to a few games. But
yeah. All right, let's talk about our releases for August 2023. Baldur's Gate 3 is out now on PC. I think we talked about that last month, but it bears repeating again because it's now Steam's most popular game here just a couple of days afterwards. Seems wildly well received. People seem to really, really, really love it. It is, like we were just talking about with Tactics Ogre, it's like 400 hours long. I don't have time in my life for that game right now. I don't know, maybe when it comes to consoles, but that's really long.
I have accepted that I'm probably just going to buy that game in a few months. I'm never going to beat it. I've heard, granted, this is all my friends who are 10 hours in, so they may just not encounter them yet. But it sounds like there aren't any like collect X amount of this, like, you know, Dragon Age Inquisition type side quests.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's all story based. There's nothing that's
Right.
not story based in it.
All right. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds highly appealing to me. And it
Yeah.
looks like a beautiful game, but
Yes.
I am broke. I have a song deadline on September 1st, so I can't buy a game like that right now.
Right.
But
That's right.
you know, maybe in October or November, I will find the money and pick it up, and I
Yeah.
will probably do the sacrilegious thing and get it for console.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it would be a pretty good console game. Like, I don't
I've
know.
heard it works well with a controller, and you know what? Larian Studios' other games work well with a controller,
It's true.
so why
It's
not?
true. Next game here is Tower of Fantasy for the PS5. This came out. These came out on PC, iOS, and Android last year. This comes out on August 5th. It's an MMO that people seem to kind of enjoy. This it reminds me the most of the kind of like Genshin Honkai style kind of game, sort of graphically. I don't know too much about. I believe this is free to play as well. So if you're looking for maybe kind of a new free to play MMO, that's this one. This one seems pretty great. Next up is WrestleQuest, coming out for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series Console, Switch, and PC on August 8th. If you haven't seen this, this is a kind of maybe classic WWE style turn-based RPG where your turn-based battles are taking place inside the ring. And it really is a kind of traditional, call them command RPGs nowadays, where it's, you know, bunch of people on the left, bunch of people on the right, and you pick fight from a menu if you're picking magic and stuff like that. So it looks really fun. I'm really curious to see how this turns out, because we don't see a lot of RPGs like this that aren't either sci-fi or fantasy. So having something being professional wrestling seems like a goofy enough idea to potentially work. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. We talked about this, I think it was last month or 2 months ago, Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. That was delayed a little bit until August 10th. This is that kind of singing, decision-based RPG that has like Laura Bailey, Troy Baker, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, a bunch of very famous singers and voice actors in there. So it's coming out on August 10th. Everspace 2 is already out on PC, but it's coming out on PS5 and Series consoles here on August 15th. That is Game Pass day and date. I also believe it's still on Game Pass on PC as well. If you played the first Everspace along with us on We Roguelike It, it's not like that this time. It's not a run-based roguelike. It is a story-based Diablo style game, but you're flying a spaceship in space. So you're picking up like blue and green and purple ship pieces and equipping those, and you're kind of getting gear and leveling up and stuff like that. So a pretty different take, but people seem to really like it. And I've been waiting for this to come out to console before I check it out. So we talked about earlier Vampire Survivors. That is coming out August 17th on the Switch. The new engine update that we were talking about just a couple minutes ago, that should be coming out at the same time on, I believe, at least PC, if not Xbox. So that's a new engine that's co-op, like we talked about, and there's a bunch of other stuff there, probably hidden in there too. Knowing these developers is like, hey, surprise, 10 more characters. So that's coming out August 17th. A game that I think is an RPG, but I'm not entirely sure. Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series consoles, and PC on August 25th. Even if it's not an RPG, this is a From Software game, and it looks sick as hell, like all of the other Armored Core games. So if you haven't watched gameplay of Armored Core 6, you really need to go watch it.
It is gorgeous looking, man.
It
Like,
really is. It looks so good, and all the gameplay I've seen, like all the kind of raw gameplay footage, is running silky smooth for as much of everything is exploding on screen in those videos.
yeah.
Like, man, Armored Core is really great, and it's been so long since we've. I don't remember when Armored Core 5 came out.
Feel like it was PS3 was the last one we got.
Yeah, like PS3 360 era, I think. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Man, these games are
And
great.
I never played any of them for more than 5 minutes, and I always meant to. I always felt like a failure of a mech fan for not having played them.
That's right. It's like, oh man, how couldn't you like? Yeah, I'm really hoping this comes out, especially on consoles. I hope it runs well, because I feel like, especially with how much people love From Software games now, especially even more after Elden Ring. Like if you're looking for kind of the OG From Software experience, that's Armored Core. Oh man, so good.
Yeah, I hope it reviews well, because if it does, then I will get it at some point this fall and play through it, probably on PS5.
Yeah. Last but not least, a game I've been looking forward to for, I feel like, 10 years. It hasn't been in development that long. Sea of Stars comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series Console, Switch, and PC on August 29th. This is Game Pass and PS Plus day and date. So you probably are going to own it for free on some platform. But Sea of Stars, very much like... I'm going to forget. Chained Echoes. That RPG I was playing. Very much harkens back to, hey, we're going to make a modern 16-bit RPG. You've probably seen GIFs of the fast travel system where like a stone golem just picks you up and throws you across the map. That GIF was very popular out there for a while. But man, this looks really good. And they've had pretty open development on this for a while. And it looks really great. Highly recommend watching some videos. There's a demo of it out now on, I think, pretty much everything, but I don't remember if if your save carries through for the final game. So, check that out if you want. If not, I mean, you probably have to either PS Plus or Game Pass on something. So, you can probably check it out when it comes out. But Sea of Stars looks incredibly cool. Very excited.
Real quick.
Yes.
I remembered the name of that game that I was trying to remember the tactics.
Oh, yeah.
It is Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark.
Oh, right. Yeah, I feel like that and Mercenary Saga kind of came out at the same time and are kind of doing the same thing. There's also another SRPG that just came out from a really small team too, that I don't remember what the name of is. I meant to bring it up on the show. It was a very small team that made it, and it seemed like it was a kind of cool tactics RPG. I don't remember. Biscuits. Oh well, I'll remember it. I'll remember it 5 minutes after we're done with this show, probably.
Yeah, that's how
like usual. All right. Thank you very much. That's the end of our episode. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to visit us, you can do so at pickingupthepixels.com. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right-hand side of the page. Musim, where can we find you online?
You can find me at my Linktree. That is linktr.ee/John Musim. And that will take you everywhere that I am, basically. I need to add my thread on there.
Oh,
I guess I log into that a couple times a week, but...
Yeah.
Anyway.
Adding all of our new social media platforms until one rises to the top, hopefully. So I can stop updating 4 of them at once.
Yes.
You can find all my shows at e1m1.com, and if you want to check out all my other projects, you can go to campsite.bio/Jansten, Jansten. It has links to all the podcasts and all the places that you can listen to all of these shows on. Like, we're on Apple Music, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, all that stuff. Like, don't forget there's a video version of this on YouTube as well, over on the TVGP channel. And you can check out all that. And Destiny Emblem Collector, I don't talk about, not really playing Destiny at all, but you can check that out over there. check out all the pretty pictures. And I think that's it. So we'll see you all next month. Bye.
Bye.